Hello, my name is Joseph Abney, and this is Mr. Tom Grantham with the Glen House, and we're going to be interviewing him today about his volunteer work. We're going to go over some questions and answers and take it from there. So, can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Quick background would be, grew up in Jackson, went to Southeast a long time ago, graduated from Southeast with a business degree, and as I worked I actually traveled around the Midwest, but in 2000 we decided to move back. When I was working I was never able to do much volunteering or community work, and I'd always kind of want to do that. So once I retired, my wife had already gotten involved at the Glen House, and so it was kind of, easy for me to get involved. I was invited, so to speak, to get involved. But I'd had a passion for history. Even though I didn't have a history degree, and that's not what I did professionally, I'd always had interest in history in the past, and so it was easy to get involved here. And it was an interesting group of people, so about 2008 we got involved and worked, and currently I've worked through several board positions, and I am currently the president of the board of directors for the Glen House.
Okay. What is the main thing you do here at the Glen House?
That's a hard question. That's an easy question to answer because I end up doing everything. Obviously, as the president, it's an all-volunteer organization. Our official name is the Historical Association of Greater Cape Girardeau, Inc. We are a 501c3 non-for-profit corporation that was formed in 1968 when the house was donated, and then the restoration project took place. But it is, again, as I said, an all-volunteer group. The board of directors organize and manage the various activities of the house, and we've gotten involved in all aspects of it. I guess as the president, the official duties would be, running the meetings and providing, I guess, some direction. Actually, as the president, I'm a non-voting board member only in case of ties that can resolve issues that end up being tied, and we generally don't have that much conflict. We, discuss the points, and the decisions and the actions that are decided upon are generally pretty unanimous, so we really don't have much conflict. We have a great group of volunteers that serve on the board. There's 15 board members, and we actually have an honorary board position for one of the historic preservation students from Southeast University as well, so who sits in and helps and has gotten a lot of activity. So from the administrative standpoint, I basically run the board meetings, but really the activities, I enjoy the building and grounds aspect of it, and work with maintenance and repairs and utilities, all the things that go on with the physical operation. And because of my business background, I also have tried to institute a little more long-range budget planning and managing the finances as far as the revenue. And the revenue comes from tours and donations and memberships and special events, and the expenses are, anybody that owns or a house knows that maintenance and insurance and utilities, et cetera, et cetera. So and also I do docent some. I work special events. I help them with setup, get involved in the promotional aspect. So I really get involved in almost all of our activities. I would not take credit for the Christmas decorations. I carry the boxes, but the ladies that volunteer and do that, not just all ladies, we have several guys that are involved in it, do a wonderful job of decorating for the holidays. I carry the boxes. They are the creative genius that puts the beautiful decorations together. So a little bit of everything here.
You almost kind of stated already, but how did you get involved with this line of volunteer work?
Well, as I said, when I was working, I was traveling a lot, and it was very difficult to get involved in any kind of community projects and activities. And when my kids were young, did the school things with them and the sports and the various activities that they were in, but I didn't feel I had the time because I was gone so much on the road, out overnight, that sort of thing. So I'd always wanted to be involved in some kind of community activity, and I've always had an interest in history. And so as we traveled, we would seek out historic sites, and it just kind of became a natural. This was a place where there was need, and I feel strongly about trying to preserve our past and be able to share that message, and this is a beautiful place to do that.
Have there been any interesting experiences that you've come across while working here? Or?
Sure. There's been a lot of interesting experiences. First, it would start with the people that you meet. You know, some people that you know are just looking for something to do and have no knowledge of the historical significance or really even interested in it. It's just a neat old house to them, and they want to come see it. And then you have the professional people that visit. That we had the Missouri Humanities Council come to town, and they toured the house, and I was very intimidated as I talked to them because they knew a lot more about the details of the house and everything that in the period than I did. But the riverboats are back running again this year, and when those people, we get people from all over the world. I mean, they are not from the Midwest. They are typically from, you know, all across the United States. We've had people from Switzerland and New Zealand and Germany and England, and so it's very interesting to visit with those people and share their experiences. And one of the more unusual experiences was we had a paranormal group want to go through the house. And I was reluctant to go down that path, even though there seems to be a lot of interest. And so we talked to them, and the board was receptive that if we had some kind of control of what they were going to say and do and that sort of thing. And it turned out they were very professional, had all kinds of equipment and cameras, infrared cameras and voice recorders and digital thermometers and some kind of device to measure electromagnetic energy. And so I spent the night with them. They came in at 7 in the evening and took a couple hours to set up their equipment, and they were here until 3 in the morning. And I kind of looked over their shoulders during that, and they were very professional about how they did it. And I was impressed by their dedication to what they were doing. I won't say that I do or do not believe in spirits. I saw some things that would certainly make you wonder, but the worst part, I guess, was come 3 o'clock in the morning, and they took all their equipment and left, and I was in the house by myself and had to turn off the lights and work my way out. And you start at the top, and as you turn all the lights off, it gets darker and darker, and it just seems like sounds, and your imagination runs wild. And I came out the back door to lock the back door, and immediately walked into a big cobweb.
Oh, wow.
And so it's kind of set the evening. So from the paranormal groups and looking for ghosts or spirits, to dealing with people from all over the world, and dealing with school children. You know, we get 300 to 400 school children through every year, particularly in the spring, and it's kind of interesting to work with them and try to help them engage in a little bit and stepping back in history and appreciating what things were like in 1900. So a variety of experiences, I guess.
Very cool. How long have you worked in this field, or and when did you start with it?
Well, my involvement started, I guess, in 2007 or so, and very casual. My wife was already working on the board, and I was still working full time, but so it was very limited. But then once I retired, then I pretty much got involved in the board, and so, you know, what's that? 4 or 5 years is all. But you know, it's been pretty intense at times. We've become very involved with the activity here, and one thing we're trying to do is to bring the house to life, I guess, so to speak, and have more events and generate more interest, more access to the house, and more use of the house. And we feel like we're doing that, but you know, sometimes the excess then creates more demands. But so really a limited time, if you will. Only 4 or 5 years have I been volunteering.
How long do you see yourself taking part of the Glen House or volunteering here, or is it a set amount of time, or is this
No,
tired of it,
no,
or?
don't have a timeline. You know, as long as I'm able, I guess I would be involved in some level. I was once told by a pretty smart individual that when you come to volunteers and you get people that are officers in board positions, and that you have to be careful. There's probably a 4 or 5 year time period when you have people involved as board members and making the decisions and carrying the brunt of responsibility and work and hours, that, you know, so you probably need to cycle, you know, 4, 5, 6, 7 years from a position of big involvement or intense involvement and you can still stay involved, but I don't see myself being president for 10 or 15 years. You know, a couple of years down the road, then you get somebody else that comes in with new ideas and new energy, and you need that infusion of I guess different ideas and new energy. So, but I'll stay involved, you know, as long as I'm able to some extent. Maybe not as intensely as I am right now.
What do you like or dislike about volunteering at the Glen House?
Well, you know, I certainly have a passion about preserving our history and sharing that message and having people develop a better understanding of how people lived and the challenges they faced and what that's all about. I mean, you know, we think that we're the ones that have the tough and hard times, yet if we look back in history, we'll find that that's really not the case. In this period, 1900, with the house, is one when there was huge technological change happening, and I particularly enjoy that. I'm maybe not as into the women's fashions and the style of the furniture as much as some people, but you think about the technological changes that occurred. When this house was first built, there was no electricity, no running water, and no telephone, no automobile, no airplane. But in about 15 or 20 years, you know, because it was finished in 83, and by 1900, in the very early 1900s, 04, 05, you know, all of a sudden all of those things were available. And it was a huge change in the world and how people lived in a very short period of time. And so that's exciting. I enjoy the technological side of it, but you know, getting people involved, getting their reactions, and you know, dealing with people is probably the most rewarding thing.
Right into the next question, what are your challenges and rewards?
Well, the challenges are getting people involved. You know, everybody's, you know, if they're working and they have families or they're going to school, they have heavy schedules, and to carve out a little bit of time, you know, when they can share it with something, there's just a lot of challenges on people. And so getting more people involved, we tend to have a very dedicated but relatively small group of volunteers that makes everything happen here. And I would imagine that that's true at all nonprofit historical sites, you know, unless they're operated by the state or the National Park Services, which would be different. You know, they were funded and staffed, but when you get into the sites that are operated by volunteers, you know, getting the people so that they can find the time to make the things happen that need to happen. And you know, the most rewarding part is when you work with people, all kinds of backgrounds and interests, and that they bring different things, you know. So we are enhanced by our experience with all the different people, and that includes the guests that we see, the visitors that come through the house, and they share. And communication is two ways. It's not just talking to people, but it's listening to their stories and what they have to tell, and you know, and how it relates to something that their great-grandmother did, or that they remember this. And so again, the challenge, I guess, and the rewards are one and the same. It's all about the people, you know. You know, the obvious part would be finding funding for a nonprofit site. That's a daily challenge. Our activities generate some funds, but it's through support of members and donors and things like that that makes it possible. And we happen to be facing some major maintenance issues right now, and you know, a house that's 130 years old, that's to be expected. But so finance, you know, to support, you know, these types of activities is a challenge, and you do everything you can, but it still comes back to people, both on the challenge and on the reward side, I think. Yeah.
Would you recommend this type of volunteering to other people that might be interested?
Absolutely, and it goes right back to what I said, that you know, volunteering is, sure, it's about hard work and, you know, time and doing things that maybe you wouldn't normally do, or doing things that you didn't do in your normal workday life or whatever. But to me, that's kind of the rewarding part of it, is that you get to do something different. And we've got people that have finance background, we have people that have education background, we have a retired minister. The variety of our volunteers is pretty wide, and I come with a business background, but